On a walk, and this is where the walk starts actually. Okay, sit. I'm just having him sit closer to the threshold so you can see him because I know he was in the shadow. So he does this multiple times a day. Whenever he's going to go through a doorway, he's not allowed to run through the doorway. We always practice a sit, stay. We step out to accentuate the fact that this is our boundary. He waits respectfully until we come back. Okay, he walks through with us. And if he tries to rush or anything, you need to go slow and tap him so that he's not pulling you through the doorways anymore, which almost every dog that comes here in the beginning, they're doing that. So, okay, that's one thing that I do is start working on that respect of all the boundaries, respecting you, not pulling you through, waiting until you've gone through first, but don't call him to you, through the boundary, because you're really just teaching him to, by doing that, teaching him to chase after you. But if he knows that he doesn't go through that boundary unless he gets allowed to walk through with you, you have a much better chance over time of him not going through there unless you allow him to go through. So never call him to you from out of a sit stay, to go after you. The dominant part of this is where you step out, but then he waits till you step back next to him, and he only gets up because you allow him, and he walks through slowly. On the outside of the boundary, it's sit, and then outside the boundary, because this is the calm zone here, starting in there to about here, outside of the boundary, go, and then he's free. So practice with your boundaries being calm zones like you just saw me doing it. Any boundary you want, anytime he's on a leash, and it's really going to help the overall project. He's going to calm down as well because especially when the walks start, that's when the dogs are out there most excited, and they want to pull you through all the doorways and gateways because they want to go on their walk. So the training for a walk starts on the inside of your house when you put the leash on. So that's the way we start the walk. Now I'm going to show you how we take them through the gate and the curb boundary and the other stuff. And now to continue our little trip out into public, okay, sit, just have him sit a little closer to the threshold here so that you can see what we're doing. Every gateway, every doorway, he sits, we step out to accentuate the fact that you're not rushing through with me, you're not chasing me after, you're chasing after me when I go through. You wait till I come back next to you, and then I say, okay, and then you walk through with me calmly. And if you're by yourself and you have to close the door or gate, always do that left turn. And you'll see more about using your body like this throughout the video. It just makes everything go so much better with the dog as opposed to doing this and doing that kind of stuff, because your enemy is a tight leash when you turn left, because he's going to be on your left when you turn into the dog like that, and use your body to show him where to go. Keeps the leash loose because he's drawn back next to you, and that becomes a pattern, and you see the dog pulling you way less than before. Now we've got a curb here because I'm going to start the walk across the street. I always like to do a gateway, a doorway, a gateway, and a curb if I can. Most people have at least two of those things in their household. We're going to sit here at the curb, and like with so many of the other exercises we do, he's going to automatically do it once you've practiced it with him for a while, like he has with me. But still, always say the command. Even if you know he's going to sit at the curb, always say sit, because if you stop saying the commands, it'll start to fall apart over time. So don't stop saying the commands. I had him sit, I walked around both ways really quick. It's just a sit stay, basic sit stay. Okay to walk across the street. Usually dogs are pulling across the street, so I'm actually going to go this way so you can kind of go that way. So see how he's not pulling me across the street? If he did, I just tap a little like that. Never restrain. If you hold on tight like that, if you try to force him, come on buddy, try to force him to stay next to you, he's going to pull against that tight leash. So tap and release if he is pulling you. On the other side, sit. And now we get to start the walk. Go. He's free. So if I wasn't making a video and talking to you, that would have taken all of like maybe a minute or a minute and a half. Waiting at the doorway, waiting at the gate, waiting at the curb, walking across the street in training mode, having him sit, releasing him to be free. And what you have, if you do that every day or whenever you take him for a walk, he starts to anticipate that's just what happens, because that's all he remembers. As the days and weeks pass by, he only remembers doing this. He doesn't remember whatever he used to do, and you start to see him just go to that calm place right away because it just has become a pattern in his life because you are handling him differently now. And that's the key. You have to do it the way we've been doing it to have this kind of behavior. We are in a very busy place with Cash. I just had him do a sit-stay. And see how I just lured him to pay attention to me? He's going to pay attention to a lot of noises, and can you show that right there? That she was pushing it towards us and then pulled it back. Things that are moving that he never sees, hardly ever sees, definitely not in his home life. He's not going to see a giant pallet on wheels. There's a dog coming towards us, so go. I'm going to let him be free, and you're going to see that dog. It's to your right if you want to show the dog right there. And I'm going to say, come. I'm going to call him away from that dog. Good. Can you see us? You're showing us? Yeah. So there's a dog that came right here. Come. Anything like that, you want to call him away. It surprises you, especially dogs or somebody shows up with a skateboard or really anything. This has been a great place sit to practice with wheels because you got the pallets, you got the giant carts like she has right there, you got people pushing baskets past, so it's a great way to practice with all kinds of distractions. And we'll wait till she passes by. But he's waiting in a sit-stay until this passes by. You caught that, right? Do you see that? Yeah. And doing really well. At first, when we first started coming here a number of weeks ago, he was really scared of things, but we've been practicing a lot with his sit-stays and down-stays in ever-increasing levels of distractions. And so now we're ready to do this, and he's ready to do this. So that was he's been doing a basic sit-stay. He's not getting up when people are walking past and carts are going past. I can even walk around him like this. He knows not to get up until I release him. So the way that when you're practicing a sit-stay, the way to reward him is walk back next to him. Eye contact, put this right by your face, like so he's looking at you in the eyes. Good. As he's taking the treat. Seems like a subtle little thing, but it's very powerful. It's way better than just doing this and he's just munching out of your hand, not paying attention to you. So always get eye contact, reward straight down out of a sit-stay. And now he's slipping on the floor. I'm going to release him. Go. And that's how you release him out of the sit-stay. All right. Down. And now we're going to practice a down stay in another spot. And this is a real tough spot for some dogs because there's so much happening, so many people walking past. Nope. Good. And you'll notice that I'm doing exactly what I did in the other clip on the stationing mat, on the mat exercise. And now because I practiced that, good. Now I can do it in places with a lot of distractions with no mat. So you want to show all these things passing by on your right. So already we have endured a bunch of distractions. And I'm just showing you what he's capable of now after all the practicing we've done. I'm not saying you should be doing this at a place like this where you've got everything here. You've got workmen, you've got wheels of all different sorts, you've got tons of people walking around everywhere. We saw a dog a little earlier, which will be on the video. Good. And it's just a great place to practice. Good. So he's doing really well. There's this little dog, so you want to show the little dog walking past. Got it? Okay. Very good. So he's really good. Got a solid downstay in the presence of distractions, which we're after. And people are walking like within 10 inches of him and he's not popping up. So the way to release him out of a downstay, go back next to him, you say, okay. You have him sit, and then always release him from a calm sit stay. Go, and he's free. Sit. We're walking Cash up to somebody. We're gonna do a greeting routine with him. We practice this every day with different people. He sits. I step over to hand the treat to the person. He stays in a sit stay till I come back, and I'm gonna release him. See how he's waiting for me to pat his chest? Go say hi. Goes over there, he gets the treat, gets petted. I say, come. Good. We're just gonna do it 3 times. But the more that you do this exercise, sit. better he gets at his sit stays, better he gets, and the more polite and appropriate he gets when he meets somebody. You see, there's no way for him to jump because the treat's down there, the petting's down there. He's so used to being sent over to people because of the way we do it, and having it go the same way, his jumping on people has gotten a lot less since we've been practicing this. Go. Come. And then you also have your recall. Good. So if you are in a situation where he's just out of his mind with excitement, meeting somebody, or he's being inappropriate in some way, sit. You can always call him back to you. Just get him out of there. Use the recall, and it'll work well last time over. And you can also, once you've started practicing this for a while, after he's used to doing it with you, you can start making it a little bit harder for him, like doing, walking around doing a basic sit stay like this before you send him over to get the treat, which obviously just helps him develop a higher level of focus if you have him do more things and practice a longer sit stay. See how he's waiting? This is really what you want. You want him to really be waiting for you to release him. Go. Come. Good boy. And there's your greeting routine. He loves his mat, so he's going to want to run on the mat, but this is part of the exercise, is that he needs your permission to go on the mat. So put the mat down, go get him from wherever he is, bring him up to the mat on a leash, have him sit like this with your right hand, pat his chest and say, go, down, say down, although he's going to go down anyway because, of course, his pattern is the same every time that we practiced, many, many times at this point. He knows what he's going to do. So, but you don't stop saying the commands though. Still say the commands as he does it, because that will help you in other situations in life where you're going to ask him to go into a down stay. And if you just start practicing this, where he accepts you standing behind him, walking behind him, even doing this occasionally, which is really, it looks like we're showing off, but it's not that hard for a dog to put up with that. Basically, and here's how you reward him. Good. So he waits until you place the reward on the mat and withdraw, and he takes it off the mat. He's not trying to grab it out of your hand. He's not excited. You're not tossing it down. It's a very controlled delivery of the reward. The delivery of the reward is very important, actually. Good. I'm after the same calm focus that I'm after when I go down to release him by patting his chest. In those moments, you really want him to be calm and focused, because it really helps the overall process of getting him to be much calmer, much less reactive, and that just helps him in every situation. Being able to focus at a higher level is where it's all at, and so we're just figuring out these little ways and these simple little exercises to develop his focus, his calmness, inner calmness more and more as we practice. So that's just the basic thing right there, walking around in both ways, making sure that he, good, is very, very calm and respectful in the way that he accepts the rewards. So we're in a closed yard, so it's safe. I can drop the leash, I can walk away. These are things you can do as well. Maybe you want to show me just real quick where I am here. I'm going to leave the yard. If you're ever going to do something that's difficult for him to handle, it's okay to remind him what you want him to keep doing before you do that. And so I'm going to tell him, down. And then show me going out of this gate just for a second, then show him. So I'm going outside here, show him now. And I'm going to come back. So I'm just giving you little examples of the things that you can do. And go ahead and show him. He gets a reward for that, of course. Good. If it's in your house, it's him in a downstay, you going outside and coming back. And I've actually practiced that at your house before, so you've seen that. So it's really just about a solid downstay, anytime, anywhere, any place. Because we practice on the mat, you'll also have it without the mat now. So that's how we got this solid downstay, is practicing on the mat for a little while before we started practicing it in different spots without the mat. But because we did it that way, he just got the whole downstay concept a bit quicker than he would have otherwise. He goes to this mat and he's automatically triggered to do one thing, because that's the only thing he practices here is a downstay. Therefore, when you say down when he's not using the mat, it's just a lot stronger and it's a lot stronger sooner than it would have been if you would have been having him teaching him to do a downstay on the cement, on the grass, on the linoleum floor, on the carpet. So because this one piece of fabric, he's been doing one thing only for a while, just got him to get to a higher level so that we could do the off the mat downstays later on. Oh, I wanted to show you and see how he thought, oh, we're going to get up now, but I didn't release him, so he stayed there. Another thing you can do to test him, every dog, when they first come here and I pull on that leash, gets up and comes to me, because usually people have been pulling them to them. So that's another thing that you can practice just to make sure you're on the right track. Good. And if he stays there, of course, you say good and you give him that reward. If he were to pop up, you say no. And just what I do is I pivot on my right foot and then I just ease him down with my left foot. Don't say down again, because you already said it once. And that one time you said down should hold for most of the exercise, unless you're doing harder things like that second time I told him down when I was going to leave the yard. So it's really about, if I wasn't talking to you, I would have said very little. If he pops up here, it's no. If he pops up anywhere, it's no. And if he leaves the mat, you say no. Just one time, like that. Not angrily, but just in a normal voice. Step into him. Do your little circle here. He's going to be next to you. Put him back. That's how he's learned this so well. He just knows that he never leaves until he gets released in that very specific way. And that way is you coming back next to him, you pat your leg and say, okay, lead him off the mat, have him sit, and then you can pat his chest and let him be free by saying, go. Okay, sit. So you always have him sit before you send him in the crate. The door's always closed, so you're going to open it. Make sure you're not restraining him. If he does try to run in there before you allow him, just tap and say no, but he's waiting. With your right hand, go. Send him in. And then he loves his crate. One of the reasons is every time he goes in, he gets a little reward. And he had this issue of play biting. You can see I'm taking off his stuff. You can see his face. And he's not doing the play biting. I'm doing this really slowly so you can see. And I want to keep this going. So before I close the door, another little bit of treats there while I close the door. These collars, first of all, this is a choke chain, which is only on as a safety in case this little training collar ever comes off. This little prong collar, it's the smallest size they make. Sometimes they come off, or sometimes you don't notice it, but you put it on improperly. And so if that ever comes off, this, let's say if this was his neck, it's always hanging loosely. If the other one comes off, then it takes up the pressure from the leash and you don't lose him. So we only use choke chains for that reason, never for training. It's just a safety, so that if you're out in public, he doesn't get loose if this comes off. This, when he's in here, you can just hang up on the door like that. It's an easy place to put it. It won't get tangled up in itself. If you just toss it down in a pile, it'll tangle up. So just put it like this. Here at our house, he has been sleeping in his crate. Every night we put in blankets and very comfortable stuff in there for him to sleep on. He gets his meals in the crate. We bring the meals to him, open the door, give him the bowl of food, close it. This door is closed when he's in at all times and when he's out at all times. So he needs permission to go in, like I just showed you, and he needs permission to come out. So throughout the day, he's in and out of the crate, probably here out, every hour or so. Lots of free time, but that routine is always the same. Sitting at doorways, walking through the house, sitting in front of the crate, being allowed to go in. Just what I just did, probably 5, 6, 7 times a day at least. He does that. And of course, overnight, when he sleeps tonight, right before we go to sleep, he goes out, and then first thing in the morning, he comes out again. So every time he goes in, you saw me give him little rewards. So he loves to go in here. In his mind, everything good happens in the crate. If I'm going to give him some bones, chewies, anything like that, he gets it only in the crate because I want to develop this crate as his den. This is the place in his mind where all good things happen. So he loves to be in his crate, and it gives you a way to manage him when things are a little bit crazy in the household with your kids, or maybe you're having a party with the kids or something like that, where it's just a really hectic day. You can go in the back room in his crate, give him a bone to chew on. He's happy in his crate, and you can bring him out later when things have settled down a little bit. When you're going to take him out of the crate, you just take the collar off the door and attach it to the leash like this. And if you were going to take him out on the street, you put this on first. So that's on him, just put it over his head. And then I always do this the next day, especially because you're always going to take this off at night for sure. And if you want to take it off during the day, it's fine as well, or every time you put him in here. But when I put it back on him, I've already got it attached to the leash, so you only have to do one thing, and that is to reach in and put it around his neck like that. And you might have to do this. I forgot about this one step that I don't have to do anymore. When you open the door, stick your hand in there so he has to be back in there to get the reward. And then when he's munching out on that, and he dropped a piece here. He's munching out on that, you reach in, hook him up to this collar. We did have a problem for a while of him biting our hands. Right now he's just licking them because there's good stuff on there. So that went away here because always a treat. Do whatever you got to do. Always give him something appropriate to do with his mouth, so he's just not there like frantically play biting like he used to do. And you see that if you keep doing this, that play biting starts to diminish over time. You don't want to correct if he starts doing that. You don't want to tell him to stop and no or whatever and say his name, because that actually will make it worse. So you want to do what we've been doing here, and as you can see, he's waiting. And if he doesn't wait for you, we might have to, for a couple of days, go no, like that, and just do what I would call like little token slams. They're not even a slam, just say no, do that. But the exercise that I practice with him is no, is him at the doorway there, waiting on the leash. I step back, and you can, what I think you should do for a while, which is what I did for a while, is when he does that successfully, come back, he gets a treat, and then you say, okay, and he comes out. And you close the door, because you're always closing this door. If you let him just run in and out of this crate, you leave the door open, he runs back in there, you're squandering the power of the crate, because the power of the crate is about you controlling his access in and out of his den. His dogs are naturally den animals, so this is his den. We developed it that way. So always make sure you're controlling the boundary just like this, and then you always have a crate, and this is an extra large crate, which I think he's going to grow into. It's a German Shepherd size crate, so have something this big at least. There's another size too if you want something bigger, but this is probably the appropriate size for him. Have something like this so he can grow into it, because he's just a pup and still growing. Okay.